Get your stupid black hands off my glass. Can't you do anything right? Silence crashes through the five-star restaurant. Alexander Blackwood, Nexus Technologies CEO, rises. He knocks Thomas Wright's arm aside. Water splashes across the waiter's immaculate uniform. Glasses rattle. Conversations stop. Diners freeze. 15 years here and still incompetent. Blackwood sneers, looking Thomas up and down with contempt. Someone get me a waiter who understands English. Thomas absorbs the humiliation without flinching. His shoulders stay straight. His expression remains professional. Only his eyes change, hardening to steel as he bows slightly and steps away. What would you do if someone humiliated you in front of everyone? Comment below where you're watching from. But Thomas Wright isn't just any waiter, and this isn't just any business dinner. 30 minutes earlier. The private dining room buzzes with anticipation. Blackwood arrives with his executive team, preparing to close a $4.9 billion acquisition deal with European tech giant Alpencore. Thomas, assigned to their table, approaches with professional poise. He notes Blackwood's dismissive glance, the way the CEO barely acknowledges his greeting while warmly shaking hands with the white servers. "Welcome to Elysian, gentlemen and madam," Thomas says, his voice resonant with practiced warmth. "I'll be taking care of you this evening." Blackwood doesn't look up from his phone. His chief financial officer offers an apologetic smile. His VP of operations at least makes eye contact. The Alpencore team, led by CEO Elise Bergman, responds with appropriate courtesy. Thomas presents the evening's wine selection. "Tonight we have a remarkable Chateau Margaux 2015 that pairs exceptionally—" "Just pour it," Blackwood interrupts, not looking up from his phone. "Some of us have billion-dollar deals to close." Thomas maintains his composure. "Of course, sir." The restaurant hums with elegant efficiency. Crystal glasses gleam under soft lighting. Silver cutlery catches the gentle glow of candles. Thomas moves with practiced precision, invisible until needed, present at the perfect moment. Blackwood's table demands perfection. Thomas delivers, yet each interaction comes with a microaggression. Blackwood mispronounces Thomas's name despite corrections, interrupts him mid-sentence, and speaks to others when Thomas addresses him directly. The Alpencore representatives exchange uncomfortable glances, but remain silent. "Tomas, Tony, whatever your name is," Blackwood says loudly, "bring more bread." "It's Thomas, sir," he corrects politely, "right away." As Thomas returns with fresh bread, he catches fragments of conversation about market expansion, integration timelines, and synergy projections. Numbers in the billions flow casually across the white tablecloth. "The Asian market is particularly promising," Blackwood boasts. "Of course, we've had to educate their teams on proper business practices." Thomas notices everything. The slight stiffening of Bergman's posture when Blackwood makes a thinly veiled racist joke. The apologetic glance from Blackwood's own VP of operations. The tension building beneath the veneer of business pleasantries. As Thomas serves the appetizer's seared scallops with truffle essence for Blackwood, the CEO complains about the placement of his napkin, muttering about standards slipping since they started hiring just anybody. "When I started in this business," Blackwood continues loudly, "there were standards for everything, including who served at establishments like this." Thomas's expression never changes. His hands remain steady, his service impeccable. But something flickers behind his eyes' calculation, not submission. Thomas carries a phone in his pocket that could change everything about this evening. Midway through appetizers, Thomas approaches with water. Blackwood is mid-speech about company culture and maintaining standards. He waves Thomas away without looking. "Not now." Thomas politely persists, mentioning a specific water request from earlier. Blackwood turns, irritation flashing across his face. "Are you deaf as well as incompetent? I said not now." The room tenses. Conversations at nearby tables falter. Silverware pauses mid-air. Thomas apologizes professionally, begins to step back. No, wait, Blackwood says, voice dropping to a performative whisper everyone can still hear. Since you've interrupted my point about standards, perhaps you can serve as my example. He gestures Thomas closer. Thomas approaches cautiously. His posture remains professional, but something shifts in his eyes. Watchfulness replacing deference. Blackwood points to Thomas's perfectly pressed uniform. See this man? Probably thinks he's doing a fine job. But excellence isn't just showing up, is it? He addresses Thomas directly now. Tell me, what college did you attend? Do you even have a degree? Thomas starts to answer. Sir, Rhetorical question. The answer is evident in your performance. Blackwood smirks at his colleagues. This is what happens when we lower our standards to meet diversity quotas. From the corner, Elise Bergman shifts uncomfortably in her seat. Her CFO whispers something in her ear. She nods almost imperceptibly. I understand the importance of standards, Mr. Blackwood, Thomas says evenly. That's why I've served here for 15 years. 15 years, Blackwood laughs. And still just a waiter? That proves my point. The tension in the room thickens. A woman at a nearby table whispers something to her companion. Bergman's legal counsel studies his water glass with unusual intensity. Perhaps, Thomas replies, voice level, it shows commitment rather than limitation. Blackwood's eyebrows rise. Quite philosophical for a server. Did you practice that in the kitchen? No, sir. I save my practice for providing excellent service. Excellent? Is that what you call this? My water glass has been empty for minutes. My apologies, sir. I attempted to refill it earlier when you... Excuses now? Is that part of your excellent service? Thomas's expression remains neutral, but something flickers behind his eyes. He steps back with perfect poise. Will there be anything else, sir? Just do your job correctly, Blackwood sneers, if that's possible. As Thomas turns away, he catches Bergman's gaze. Something passes between them, a moment of silent recognition that neither acknowledges overtly. Thomas's phone vibrates silently in his pocket as a text appears. Everything ready. Awaiting your signal. The main course arrives. Thomas executes flawless service despite Blackwood's continuing comments. The deal discussion progresses, billions in play as documents slide across the table. The atmosphere grows more relaxed among the executives, except for Blackwood, who seems determined to assert dominance. As I was saying, Blackwood continues, cutting into his perfectly prepared filet mignon, the acquisition timeline is aggressive but necessary. We need to move before Q3 earnings. Bergman nods noncommittally. Our shareholders have expressed some concerns about cultural integration. Culture can be managed, Blackwood dismisses. Systems can be aligned. The financials make sense. When Thomas serves Blackwood's requested special wine, Blackwood inspects the label, then scoffs. This isn't what I asked for. He holds up the bottle, the exact vintage he requested. Sir, this is the Chateau Margaux 2015 you specified, Thomas confirms respectfully. Are you correcting me? Blackwood's voice rises. The room quiets again. Heads turn discreetly toward the disturbance. Perhaps in whatever neighborhood you're from, this passes for the correct wine. At my level, details matter. Thomas begins to apologize professionally when Blackwood interrupts. Since you're clearly an expert, why don't you taste it for us? Go ahead. The table falls uncomfortably silent. This is not protocol, and everyone knows it. Bergman's expression hardens. Her CFO shifts in his seat. Sir, I'm not permitted to... I insist. Blackwood pours a splash into a glass, holds it out. Prove your expertise. Thomas hesitates, feeling every eye in the restaurant upon him. The moment stretches painfully. He calculates his options, then accepts the glass with quiet dignity. As he brings it to his lips, Blackwood suddenly yanks a napkin from beneath a nearby plate, causing Thomas to spill wine on his uniform. I don't want your filthy black fingers contaminating my drink. Are you deaf? Silence crashes through the restaurant. Blackwood rises. He knocks Thomas's arm aside. Water splashes across the waiter's immaculate uniform. Glasses rattle, conversations stop. Diners freeze. 15 years here and still incompetent. Blackwood snaps his fingers directly in Thomas's face. Someone fire this idiot! A woman at a nearby table gasps audibly. The maitre d' starts forward, then hesitates, caught between protocol and outrage. The restaurant manager emerges from his office, summoned by the disturbance. The Alpencore team exchanges alarmed glances. Elise Bergman's expression hardens as she checks her watch. Her CFO's face flushes with embarrassment. Her legal counsel begins typing rapidly on his phone beneath the table. Thomas, wine staining his white shirt, excuses himself with perfect composure. I'll have another server attend to your table immediately. Get me a real server, Blackwood demands, smirking at his executive team. None return his smile. His own VP of operations stares fixedly at his plate. The room remains uncomfortably quiet as Thomas exits. Nearby diners pretend not to have noticed, but their stiff postures betray them. One woman whispers to her companion. A man at another table shakes his head slightly. Bergman opens her portfolio again, but her attention is clearly elsewhere. She exchanges a glance with her CFO. Something unspoken passes between them. She checks her phone beneath the table, then nods almost imperceptibly. In the kitchen, Thomas removes his phone and sends a one-word text. Now. In the employee restroom, Thomas changes his shirt, hands steady despite the fury within. He examines his reflection, the same face that graces the cover of Private Equity Quarterly under his real name, Dr. Thomas Wright, Ph.D. A name Blackwood would recognize if he bothered to see beyond skin color. Thomas is not just a waiter. He's the anonymous founder of Wright Capital, a major shareholder in Alpencore and silent investor in over 40 tech ventures. His annual month of service work, a personal tradition to stay grounded, has just revealed the true character of a potential business partner. 15 years, Thomas murmurs to his reflection, and nothing changes. He thinks about his father, who worked 3 jobs to put him through college. His mother, who taught him that true dignity comes from within. His grandparents, who faced far worse than wine-stained shirts and still held their heads high. He takes a deep breath. 15 years since he started this practice. 15 years of insights no boardroom could provide. He's witnessed kindness and cruelty, respect and disdain. He's learned more about human character from serving water than from Harvard Business School. Thomas makes a call. Emma, initiate Protocol Blackstone. His chief legal counsel confirms. The documents are ready. Bergman received our signal? Yes, Emma replies. She's waiting for your green light. Does she understand what this means for the deal? Completely. She seems relieved, actually. Said something about Blackwood confirming her worst suspicions. Thomas nods to himself. Odds to, and our position? We've prepared for every contingency. Our exposure is minimal. The press release is drafted. Legal has vetted everything twice. Release the first packet and contact the other board members. Emergency session in 20 minutes. Thomas studies his hands. The same hands that signed deals worth billions. The same hands Blackwood called filthy. A calm certainty settles over him. This isn't about revenge. It's about consequences. And Emma? Release the contingency file to legal, all of it. The discrimination complaints? The buried HR reports? Everything. It's time Nexus faces what they've been hiding. He ends the call and takes another deep breath. This isn't what he planned when he started his shift today. But then, most pivotal moments arrive unannounced. Thomas returns to the floor, now watching from a distance as another server attends to the table. He observes Bergman checking her phone, her expression shifting. She whispers to her team. The atmosphere at the table subtly changes. Blackwood, oblivious, continues boasting about market dominance and acquisition strategies. He doesn't notice Bergman's team quietly texting beneath the table, doesn't notice how they've stopped reviewing the contract pages, doesn't notice the shift in power happening right before his eyes. From across the room, Thomas sees a future Blackwood can't imagine yet, a future rushing toward him at the speed of digital communication, a future where power doesn't shield you from consequences. Across town, 12 boardroom phones chime simultaneously with an urgent message from Wright Capital. Thomas, now working a different section, keeps the Blackwood table in his peripheral vision. Blackwood grows increasingly animated, clearly sensing the deal's momentum shifting, though unsure why. Bergman checks her watch repeatedly. "Perhaps we should revisit some of these terms," she suggests coolly. Blackwood frowns. "The terms were acceptable an hour ago." "New information has come to light," Bergman replies. Her tone carries quiet authority. She slides the contract slightly away from her. The gesture is subtle but unmistakable. Blackwood notices. His confident smile falters. "What information?" he demands. His voice rises slightly. Heads turn at nearby tables. Blackwood's CFO whispers urgently in his ear. Blackwood's face darkens. He attempts to redirect, offering larger concessions, his earlier arrogance giving way to confusion. "We could increase the stock option package by 3%, he offers. "This isn't about the financials, Mr. Blackwood." "Then what?" His voice sharpens. "We've been negotiating for months. Everything was proceeding perfectly until—" He stops himself, but his glance toward Thomas reveals his thoughts. Bergman follows his gaze, then returns her attention to Blackwood with newfound coldness. "Until what, Mr. Blackwood? Until you showed us who you really are." "That's not fair. One interaction with a server action speaks volumes about character," Bergman interrupts. "And character drives corporate culture." Across the restaurant, Thomas serves another table with perfect attention while listening to the escalating tension. His phone vibrates. Wright Capital's board vote is unanimous. Blackwood's voice rises. "This is absurd! We had an agreement." "Nothing is signed," Bergman reminds him calmly. "And my board has concerns about compatibility of corporate cultures." Blackwood's face reddens. "What exactly does that mean?" "It means," Bergman says, gathering her documents, "that how a person treats those they consider beneath them reveals more than any financial statement." Blackwood grips the edge of the table. The veins in his neck pulse visibly. He looks around, searching for allies, finding none. Even his own team avoids his gaze. "Let's not be hasty," he says, voice straining for control. "Whatever misunderstanding has occurred—" "There's no misunderstanding, Mr. Blackwood, just clarity." Thomas moves efficiently between tables, maintaining his professional demeanor, but he's acutely aware of every shift in the power dynamic across the room. He notices Blackwood's increasing desperation. Notices the way Bergman's team has stopped engaging with the deal documents. Notices the tension in Blackwood's shoulders as his carefully constructed world begins to unravel. "Clarity about what?" Blackwood demands, struggling to keep his voice down. "About whether Alpencor wishes to associate with Nexus Technologies under its current leadership." The restaurant manager approaches Thomas with a worried expression. "There's someone here to see you, says it's urgent." Thomas meets Emma, his chief counsel, in the restaurant's side entrance. She hands him a tablet displaying real-time updates of Nexus Technologies stock beginning to fluctuate after hours as rumors spread. Thomas nods, makes a decision. "Implement Phase 2. Emma's fingers move rapidly across her phone. "Board vote is already posted to the SEC. Press release goes out in 3 minutes. And the evidence package? Distributed to all major shareholders and board members at Nexus. Anonymous source untraceable." Thomas takes the tablet, studies the numbers. The first tremors of market reaction, small now, but soon to become seismic. "What about our position?" he asks. "We've hedged appropriately. Our exposure is minimal." "And Bergman? How is she handling this?" Like a professional. She had her own concerns about Nexus corporate culture. This just confirmed them. Thomas hands back the tablet. This was never about money. I know. Emma glances toward the dining room. It's about accountability. And protection, Thomas adds. No one should work in an environment where that behavior is tolerated. Emma nods. The press will want a statement from you. Arrange a conference for tomorrow morning. Standard format. No grandstanding. And tonight? Thomas straightens his fresh uniform shirt. Tonight I finish my shift. Across the restaurant, Blackwood grows increasingly desperate. His phone lights up with notifications. Market whispers about the failed deal are already spreading. Bergman remains seated but has stopped engaging with the documents. This is a mistake, Blackwood insists. Whatever concerns you have, we can address them. I don't think so, Bergman replies. Our company values align with our investors. One investor in particular has expressed serious reservations about your leadership style. Blackwood scoffs. Which investor could possibly... His phone rings. His assistant's voice carries through the speaker. Sir, Wright Capital just released a statement withdrawing support for any acquisition involving Nexus while under current leadership. Blackwood pales. Wright Capital, the mysterious investment giant that never shows its hand until the last moment, known for its ethical stance and market influence. That's impossible, he stammers. We've never even dealt with Wright Capital. Apparently, his assistant replies, they've been watching us. Blackwood's breathing quickens. He loosens his tie, scanning the room as if searching for invisible enemies. This can't be happening. Not over some waiter. Perhaps, Bergman suggests, gathering her team's materials, it's about something much larger than one incident. Like what? Blackwood demands. Like a pattern of behavior that finally caught up with you. The restaurant manager approaches Blackwood's table with an envelope bearing the Wright Capital insignia. Blackwood tears open the envelope. Inside, photos of him with Thomas from earlier, paired with documentation of his company's internal discrimination complaints he thought buried. His face drains of color. This is blackmail, he whispers. No, says Bergman. This is consequences. Blackwood flips through the pages with trembling hands. 17 discrimination complaints. Emails ordering HR to bury reports. Exit interviews citing hostile work environment. All meticulously documented. All damning. Where did this come from? He looks up wildly. How did they get these? Bergman doesn't answer. She simply stands, signaling her team to gather their materials. I believe our business here is concluded. You can't walk away from this deal, Blackwood insists, desperation creeping into his voice. The synergies, the market position, the shareholder value are all irrelevant if the cultural foundation is rotten, Bergman finishes. My board agrees. Blackwood's phone erupts with calls, board members, investors, PR team. The news is spreading. #BlackwoodBigot already trending on social media. Security footage from the restaurant somehow leaked online. His public humiliation of Thomas playing on thousands of screens. This is a coordinated attack, Blackwood hisses. Someone orchestrated this. Or perhaps, Bergman suggests, your actions finally caught up with you. Wait, Blackwood pleads. Who's behind this? Who at Wright Capital orchestrated this? Bergman simply smiles. Perhaps you should have paid more attention to the people around you. As Bergman's team exits, Thomas approaches their now empty seats to clear glasses. Blackwood barely glances at him, too absorbed in damage control calls. No, listen to me, he barks into his phone. Issue a denial immediately. This is a setup. Someone's targeting me specifically. Thomas moves efficiently, gathering glasses, straightening the tablecloth. His movements precise and professional as always. If he feels any satisfaction at Blackwood's distress, his expression reveals nothing. The manager approaches Thomas again. Sir, there's a call for you at the front desk. They say it's the Right Capital Board. Thomas nods. Thank you. I'll take it now. Blackwood, overhearing this, pauses mid-call, confusion crossing his face as he finally, truly looks at Thomas. Recognition dawns slowly. The waiter. The call. Right Capital. Impossible connections form in his mind. Hold on, he tells his caller, lowering the phone slightly. He stares at Thomas, disbelief battling understanding. Thomas meets his gaze directly for the first time, no longer the deferential server, but an equal. No, more than an equal. Something shifts in the power dynamic, palpable as gravity. Mr. Blackwood, Thomas says quietly as he passes, sometimes the hands you consider filthy are signing your checks. Have you ever witnessed someone powerful get exactly what they deserved? Share your justice stories. Thomas walks to the front desk, aware of Blackwood's eyes following him. He takes the call on speakerphone, deliberately loud enough for Blackwood to hear. Dr. Wright speaking. Yes, the board vote was unanimous. Blackwood stands frozen, recognition dawning. He frantically searches on his phone, finding Thomas's image on Right Capital's website. The same waiter he humiliated now revealed as Dr. Thomas Wright, acclaimed economist, investor, and controlling shareholder in dozens of tech companies. The press release is approved. Proceed with the announcement of our restructured deal with Alpencore, bypassing Nexus entirely. Blackwood approaches, face ashen. You're Thomas Wright, of Wright Capital? Thomas covers the phone. The very same. Though apparently my hands are too filthy to shake yours now. This is a misunderstanding. I didn't know who I was. That's precisely the point. Blackwood sputters explanations, backtracking desperately. Thomas holds up a hand. Back to my call, if you don't mind. Yes, Emma, proceed with the press release. The board agrees that any company demonstrating such leadership flaws presents unacceptable investment risks. Blackwood's phone explodes with notifications. Nexus stock is plummeting in after-hours trading. News alerts flash about Wright Capital withdrawing support for the Alpencore acquisition, citing irreconcilable ethical concerns with current Nexus leadership. Thomas ends his call and turns to Blackwood. Fascinating how invisible service workers can be, isn't it? We pour your water, bring your food, and occasionally control your financial fate. You can't do this, Blackwood hisses. This is personal vendetta. It's unprofessional. No, what's unprofessional is creating a hostile work environment. What's unprofessional is 17 buried discrimination complaints. What's unprofessional is believing that power means never facing consequences. Blackwood attempts damage control. This is a misunderstanding. If I'd known who you were... That's precisely the problem, Thomas interrupts. You believe respect is only for those you think have power. That reveals everything about your character and, by extension, how you run your company. Other diners begin recognizing Thomas, whispers spreading through the restaurant. Several take discreet photos of the confrontation. You can't do this, Blackwood hisses. One interaction doesn't justify tanking a $4.9 billion deal. Actually, Thomas replies calmly, your treatment of me simply confirmed what our investigation already found. 17 discrimination complaints buried by your HR department, high turnover among minority employees, a corporate culture that mirrors your personal beliefs. You were spying on me? On my company? We were performing due diligence, standard practice before investing billions. Your behavior tonight just provided the final confirmation. Blackwood's expression hardens from shock to anger. You think you've won? You have no idea who you're dealing with. I know exactly who I'm dealing with, Mr. Blackwood. That's why I'm walking away. Walking away? You've orchestrated a complete ambush. No ambush necessary. You revealed yourself quite willingly. The restaurant has fallen completely silent now, every eye on the confrontation. The manager hovers uncertainly nearby, caught between protocols for handling disturbances and the realization of who Thomas actually is. You've destroyed years of work, Blackwood seethes. Billions in shareholder value, all because of wounded pride. No, Thomas counters, because of fundamental character flaws that make you unfit to lead. Your shareholders deserve better. Your employees deserve better. You'll regret this, Blackwood threatens. I have friends in this industry, powerful friends. So do I, Thomas responds simply. The difference is mine know who I really am. Thomas turns to leave. The restaurant has fallen silent, everyone watching the confrontation. Thomas moves with quiet dignity toward the exit. As Thomas walks away, Blackwood grabs his arm, not realizing 3 diners are already filming the encounter. The videos of Blackwood's restaurant behavior go viral overnight. Combined with his desperate attempt to physically detain Thomas, the footage creates a perfect storm. #BlackwoodBigot trends globally. Morning news shows run the story on repeat. Business channels analyze the collapsed deal's market implications. Social commentators discuss the larger implications of hidden bias in corporate America. This incident raises profound questions about corporate culture, explains a CNN analyst. What behaviors are being tolerated, even rewarded, behind closed doors? Nexus Technologies stock opens down 23%. Trading halts temporarily when it hits the circuit breaker. When trading resumes, the slide continues. At Wright Capital's emergency press conference, Thomas appears impeccably dressed in a designer suit. Reporters shout questions about his undercover boss approach. I work service jobs 1 month yearly to stay connected to economic realities, Thomas explains. My experience with Mr. Blackwood wasn't an isolated incident, but rather confirmation of patterns we'd already identified in our investment research. A reporter shouts, "Was this a setup?" No, Thomas responds firmly. We were conducting standard due diligence on a potential investment partner. Mr. Blackwood's behavior merely confirmed our concerns about Nexus's corporate culture. And the restaurant job? A personal practice I've maintained for 15 years. It provides insights no boardroom can offer. When you serve people, you see their true character. Will you be pressing charges for the physical confrontation? That's under consideration with our legal team. Meanwhile, Nexus Technologies faces chaos. Their stock drops 31% by mid-morning. Major clients pause contracts pending internal reviews. The board calls an emergency session. In that boardroom, Blackwood faces hostile questions. You're telling me you didn't recognize one of the most influential investors in our sector, demands his chairwoman. He was dressed as a waiter, Blackwood protests. And that justified your behavior? She counters. Even if he were just a waiter? I was under pressure. The deal you've now lost, interrupts another board member, along with billions in shareholder value. The company's general counsel slides a document across the table. We've received notice of 3 class action lawsuits already, shareholders claiming breach of fiduciary duty. That's ridiculous, Blackwood scoffs. Is it? You directly caused massive financial damage through personal behavior that violated our own corporate policies. Across town, Alpencore and Wright Capital announce a restructured deal that bypasses Nexus entirely. The new arrangement, worth $5.2 billion, explicitly includes ethics commitments and diverse leadership requirements. This partnership represents our shared values, Bergman states at their joint press conference, including respect for every individual regardless of position. The press conference becomes the day's most watched business news segment. Markets respond immediately. Alpencore stock rises 7%. Wright Capital's other investments see positive movement. Nexus continues its freefall. Financial analysts issue urgent updates. Nexus faces potential long-term damage beyond the failed acquisition. Leadership concerns may impact talent recruitment, client retention, and investor confidence for quarters to come. This incident highlights the material risks of toxic leadership. Markets are pricing in governance factors with unprecedented weight. The Blackwood effect may become a business school case study in how personal behavior can destroy shareholder value overnight. Nexus's legal team delivers devastating news to Blackwood. Shareholders are preparing a class action lawsuit, claiming his actions constituted a breach of fiduciary duty by directly causing massive financial damages. Can they do that? Blackwood demands. They already are, his legal counsel confirms. And given the direct causal link between your behavior and the stock collapse, they have a compelling case. By afternoon, hashed Blackwood bigot has evolved to boycott Nexus. Competitors distance themselves. Former employees come forward with similar stories. He once told me my ethnic hair was unprofessional, a former marketing director reveals on CNBC. When I filed a complaint, I was let go 2 weeks later for performance issues. He referred to our diversity initiatives as quota filling, adds a former HR executive, and directed us to prioritize certain cultural fits in hiring. Blackwood's personal reputation collapses alongside his company's stock. Country clubs quietly put his membership under review. Charity boards ask him to step down temporarily. Friends suddenly have scheduling conflicts. His phone, once constantly buzzing with opportunities and invitations, falls ominously silent. When it does ring, it's usually his lawyer with more bad news. The discrimination suits are consolidating, his attorney informs him. Former employees are coming forward. The evidence is substantial. They can't prove anything, Blackwood insists. They have your emails, Alexander, directing HR to bury complaints, discussing ways to terminate employees who raised concerns. The Nexus board meets again at 7 p.m. The mood is grim. Legal counsel presents a risk assessment that concludes, keeping Blackwood in position represents an ongoing material threat to shareholder value. The PR team's report is equally bleak. Brand damage is severe and accelerating. Major clients are publicly reconsidering their partnerships. By evening, Nexus stock has fallen 43%. Emergency board measures are implemented. Crisis management teams work through the night. Damage control plans are drafted and discarded as inadequate. At his penthouse, Blackwood sits alone, watching his empire crumble on multiple news channels. His phone continues to ping with messages, none supportive. His calls to industry allies go straight to voicemail. His world contracts by the hour. As Blackwood is summoned to an emergency board meeting, his assistant hands him a letter. His access to company systems has been temporarily suspended. Blackwood faces the board, now fighting for his career. The presentation screen displays plummeting stock values, canceled contracts, and public relations disasters. This will blow over, he insists. Everyone makes mistakes. The board chair remains stone-faced. This mistake has cost our shareholders over $2 billion in market value. That's before potential discrimination lawsuits from former employees, which our legal team now believes have merit. Blackwood leans forward, desperate. One bad moment shouldn't erase 20 years of leadership. This wasn't one moment, counters the HR director, sliding a thick folder across the table. Our internal investigation has uncovered a pattern of similar incidents. 17 formal complaints, dozens more informal reports, all consistent with what the public witnessed yesterday. You can't possibly hold me accountable for... We already have, interrupts the chair, sliding a document across the table. Effective immediately, you are suspended pending investigation. The board has activated the moral turpitude clause in your contract. Blackwood stares in disbelief. Over a waiter? This is absurd. Not over a waiter, corrects the only black board member. Over a pattern of behavior that has finally been exposed and has materially damaged this company. Behavior that was apparently an open secret among staff but never reached board level. Until now, adds the general counsel, when it became impossible to ignore. Blackwood's voice rises. That right set me up. He was specifically targeting me. Dr. Wright didn't force you to behave that way, the chair responds. He merely witnessed it, along with millions of others now. You're throwing away 20 years of growth. I built this company from nothing. And now you've endangered it, the CFO notes. Our stock is down 43%. Major clients are threatening to walk. Talent recruitment will be crippled for quarters. The damage assessment is ongoing, the general counsel adds. But preliminary estimates suggest this incident could cost the company upwards of $3 billion in total value. This is a witch hunt, Blackwood protests. I'm being sacrificed for political correctness. No, the chair says firmly. You're being held accountable for violating our code of conduct and materially damaging shareholder value. This has nothing to do with politics and everything to do with leadership failures. Security waits to escort Blackwood from the building. His personal items from his office are already packed in boxes. His company phone and laptop have been confiscated for the investigation. You can't do this to me. I built this company. And now you've damaged it, the chair states firmly. The board's duty is to protect shareholder value, not your ego. As he's led through the office, employees watch silently. No one meets his eyes. No one offers support. The same executives who laughed at his jokes yesterday now study their shoes as he passes. Outside, reporters wait. Cameras flash. Questions fly. Blackwood hurries to his car, head down, no comment. At home, his phone continues to explode with texts and calls, none supportive. Friends distance themselves. Social invitations disappear. Country club members request he take a break from attendance. The next morning, his lawyer delivers more bad news. The discrimination suits are consolidating. The evidence is substantial. They can't prove anything, Blackwood insists. They have emails, Alexander. Your emails. Directing HR to bury complaints, discussing ways to terminate employees who raised concerns. Those were taken out of context. Context won't matter to a jury when they see those videos from the restaurant. Blackwood paces his penthouse, watching his reputation disintegrate in real time across social and traditional media. Former colleagues give damning interviews. College alumni groups revoke his achievements. His alma mater quietly removes his name from a business school fellowship. His children call from boarding school, upset about classmates sharing videos of him. His ex-wife cancels his weekend with the kids, citing current circumstances. His elderly mother calls, her voice heavy with disappointment. 3 days later, the board votes unanimously. Alexander Blackwood is terminated for cause, forfeiting over $40 million in stock options and his golden parachute. The press release is clinical. Nexus Technologies announces leadership change effective immediately. The board of directors has terminated Alexander Blackwood's employment for violations of company policy and conduct detrimental to shareholder interests. Blackwood watches the announcement on CNBC from his living room sofa. The anchors discuss his downfall with barely concealed satisfaction. Market analysts debate how long Nexus will take to recover from the Blackwood disaster. His attorney calls with settlement offers from former employees, all demanding substantial compensation for discrimination and hostile workplace conditions. His financial advisor warns that legal fees alone could run into millions. In 6 short days, Blackwood has lost his job, his reputation, his future earnings, and his social standing. The empire he spent decades building crumbles around him, all because of one interaction with a waiter who wasn't just a waiter. In the quiet of his penthouse, Blackwood finally confronts the uncomfortable truth. No one was surprised by his behavior. Not his board, not his employees, not his industry colleagues. Everyone had always known who he really was. They just never had the power to hold him accountable, until now. 6 weeks later, Thomas receives an unexpected letter with Blackwood's return address. The Blackwood incident catalyzes industry-wide examination. Tech companies rush to implement anti-discrimination training. Executive compensation packages add ethical behavior clauses. Anonymous employee reporting systems gain popularity. We're seeing a fundamental shift, notes a Harvard Business Review analysis. Companies now recognize that toxic leadership creates material business risk, regardless of financial performance. Thomas leverages the moment. Right Capital announces a new investment criterion: corporate culture assessments that include treatment of service staff during company events. Other investment firms quickly adopt similar standards. How executives treat people they perceive as having less power is the truest measure of character, Thomas explains in a Wall Street Journal interview, and character drives corporate culture. Alpencore and Right Capital's partnership flourishes. Their joint venture emphasizes ethical AI development and inclusive hiring practices, quickly becoming an industry benchmark. Our stock has increased 17% since partnering with Right Capital, Bergman tells CNBC. Ethical leadership isn't just morally right, it's profitable. Thomas gives a rare television interview, not to gloat but to highlight systemic issues. What happened with Mr. Blackwood isn't about one man's failure or one company's culture. It's about power dynamics that enable discrimination to thrive unchecked. The interviewer asks if Thomas's methods were extreme. "I didn't create the situation," Thomas responds. "I merely declined to shield a powerful man from the consequences of his own actions." True privilege isn't wealth. It's the expectation of immunity from repercussions. Industry publications analyze the financial impact. Companies with diverse leadership and strong ethical practices show better long-term performance. Investment firms add DEI metrics to their evaluation criteria. A McKinsey study confirms companies in the top quartile for executive behavior and ethical culture outperformed their peers by 33% in long-term value creation. The restaurant where the incident occurred institutes new training protocols, emphasizing that all staff deserve respect. Their parent company implements system-wide changes, creating confidential reporting channels for employees facing discrimination. Thomas opens Blackwood's letter. Inside, a handwritten apology acknowledges the damage caused by his actions and biases. Blackwood explains he's entered therapy and diversity education programs, recognizing patterns he'd never confronted before. "I don't expect forgiveness," Blackwood writes, "but I want you to know your actions forced me to see myself clearly for the first time. I'm working to change." Thomas reads it thoughtfully, then files it away without response. 1 year later, Thomas enters the same restaurant, but this time in a custom suit with his name on the reservation. Would you have handled this situation differently? Tell us your strategy in the comments. Thomas dines with his executive team, celebrating Right Capital's most successful year. The restaurant staff greets him warmly. Many were there that fateful night. "Dr. Wright, your usual table is ready," says the maitre d', leading them to the best spot in the house. Their server is a young black woman, recently promoted to the private dining section. She serves with confidence, clearly competent and respected. "Is everything to your satisfaction?" she asks, pouring water with practiced grace. "Perfect," Thomas replies. "How long have you been working the private dining room?" "Just 2 months," she answers. "I was nervous at first, but everyone's been supportive." Thomas notices her Stanford pin. "Are you a student?" She nods. "Business school, working here part-time." "Ambitious," Thomas comments. "What's your long-term goal?" "Investment banking, then venture capital." She hesitates. "But it's competitive." Thomas asks about her career plans in detail. She mentions her interest in ethical investing and barriers she's facing. Before leaving, Thomas hands her his card. "My foundation offers scholarships. Apply." Her eyes widen with recognition. "You're the Wright from the Blackwood incident. We studied that case in my ethics class." Thomas smiles. "And what did you learn?" "That power doesn't always look like we expect," she replies, "and that consequences eventually find everyone." "Good lesson," Thomas nods. "I'll look for your application." After dinner, Thomas steps outside. The financial district gleams around him. His phone shows notifications of another successful acquisition, another barrier-breaking investment. He thinks about Blackwood, now working at a small regional firm, reputation permanently damaged but slowly rebuilding through genuine effort and humility. He thinks about the changes sparked not enough, never enough, but movement in the right direction. New faces in boardrooms, new voices in decisions, new metrics for success. Thomas's car arrives. The driver holds the door with respect, born not from recognizing his wealth but from genuine professional courtesy. "Where to, Dr. Wright?" "Home," Thomas replies. "But let's take the long way." As they drive through the city, Thomas reflects on the journey from that night to this moment. How one interaction revealed character, how consequences rippled outward, how systems resist change until suddenly they don't. The car passes the gleaming headquarters of Nexus Technologies, now under new leadership with reformed policies and a diverse executive team. Their stock has recovered, slowly rebuilding on a foundation of authentic change. Thomas remembers his father's words from childhood. "Your character is revealed by how you treat people who can do nothing for you." Simple wisdom that still guides his actions decades later. The moral isn't about revenge, but accountability. Not about punishment, but correction. Not about one man's fall, but many people's rise. If this story of justice and accountability resonated with you, hit that like button right now. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories of redemption and consequences to light. Want more true life stories where karma delivers perfect justice? Subscribe to Beat Stories for weekly doses of satisfying comeuppance served to those who deserve it. Turn on notifications so you never miss our next shocking tale of power, justice, and sweet revenge. Comment below with your own stories of witnessing the powerful face unexpected consequences. Remember, every view, like, and share helps spread these lessons of accountability further.
This story shouldn't be the exception. It should be the last time it ever happens. At Beat Stories, we turn one moment of injustice into a call for change. Subscribe to help make that call louder and longer lasting.